Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'asik b'divrei Torah. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu divrei Torah b'finu piyum b'beit Yisrael. V'niyeh anachnu v'tzeitzeinu v'tzeitzeim b'beit Yisrael. Kulanu yodea shemecha v'ludei Toratech l'shma. Baruch atah Adonai l'mei Torah l'amo Yisrael.
Amen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'chabanu b'kol hamim v'natanu l'Torato. Baruch atah Adonai notei Torah.
Amen.
Amen.
Take it away, Kevin. Teach us.
Okay, I see something here. Listening to Lashon Hora. The Torah forbids you to listen to Lashon Hora even if you do not intend to believe what is spoken. Example, Zalman uses he wanted to join them, although he knew that this would entail listening to Lashon Hora. In order to alleviate his curiosity, he joined the group, but thought to himself, I won't believe any of this gossip. I'm just going to listen for curiosity's sake. So it says Zalman transgresses by listening to the Lashon Hora, even though he doesn't believe it. Beware of a narrative that begins with, I have something funny to tell you about Mr. Chaim Shapiro. Most likely it will contain Lashon Hora. Okay. Damon knows Chaim Shapiro, so do I. A fictional character. Okay. Okay. In his old age, the Chofetz Chaim had difficulty hearing Rabbi Meir Shapiro, as the head of Lublin Yeshiva, who once asked him, why don't you see a doctor? Perhaps something can be done to help you. The Chofetz Chaim replied, with Hashem's help, I have been able to refrain from speaking Lashon Hora. But hearing Lashon Hora depends on others. If someone has something important to tell me, he raises his voice and I hear him. But no one will shout Lashon Hora into my ears. Okay. Then there's the second part, believing. Shall I continue?
Sure.
That was self-explanatory. We should try. It's not so. Obviously, not so. Try not to listen to people or move away or change the subject. It's
very hard when you ask somebody for lunch. That's the problem.
No, it's if you ask people for Shabbos lunch, they should know better because they're from people.
No,
Anyone should know, it should be them.
Yeah, Kev, I do what you do, and I've seen you do it quite well, is that like you change the subject. You're very good with this.
And it's not always successful. Have you seen, you remember, geez, I'm impressed.
Oh, sure. Is that like, but you make it seem, it's brilliant. You make it seem like you've got a low attention span. It's brilliant. People don't realize, but you're actually so sharp. But
Yeah.
they think it seems as though you're just not concentrating and you're going on to something else. But it's genius because I can see you know exactly what's going on. So they just move on to the next topic. I think it's brilliant.
So I think it's brilliant too, but I can't do it because my Yetzirah won't allow me to change the subject.
Yeah, so Kev, how's your work going, by the way?
Fantastic.
That's great. You see, I changed the topic.
When I say fantastic, Arthur, David knows it's actually not a sincere answer.
It's okay.
No, it is. It's all right. I mean, I'm not saying it about my work. When I say fantastic, Damon knows it's sarcastic and I joke around.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
but you know what? The thing that we're learning from you of this Yates, of this not speaking Lashon Hara, is actually for me a little bit more helpful than how many people go on a Zoom on table, who gets up, who does a Mexican wave, who leaves, who didn't think about it, who did think about it. I mean, this is something that can really damage us.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you, Kev, very much for doing something practical.
But as I say, unless it's for constructive purpose, it's just not listening. Oh, do you know what this guy, what he did to his hair, what he...
Yeah, tell us.
He wore his wife wore a polka dot dress, and he wore this, and he looked so terrible, and the guy doesn't know how to cook, like things like that. What relevance does it have, and how? It's silly.
Have you got a camera in my house?
Men are less likely to do Lashon Hara than women.
I know, women find it difficult.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing we listened, did you see that dress? It should have been a tablecloth. How could she wear that?
And we said it's such an awful people at the table. How can they do this to us at the wedding, you know? It's all about us.
Yeah. All right. So, guys, I'll tell you where we ended off. We ended off understanding, just 1 minute summary. The Gemara considers why a different Kal V'chomer is not expounded. but a person who kills somebody should be obligated to pay kofar, as can be derived through the following Kavachome reasoning. If in the case of an ox, which is not obligated to pay 4 things, in other words, if an ox kills a person and one is obligated to pay kofar if his ox kills a person, then in the case of a person who is obligated to pay 4 things, in addition to the actual damage, if he injures someone, isn't it logically compelling that he would be obligated to pay kofar if he kills a person? So we were saying it seems much more hectic that a person that injures somebody has to pay these 4 other things plus actual damage.
Yeah.
So surely, if he kills the person, he should have to pay a kofar. Why is it accepted that he doesn't have to pay the kofar? And the Gemara answered, as we knew, the verse states concerning the payment of kofar, whatever shall be assessed against him, from which we derive against him, but not against the person who kills someone. So in other words, what we're saying is that it's very, very clear that the death penalty is far more hectic than getting off with a ransom penalty. And that if you're so negligent that your ox has caused the death of somebody when you were warned many times about the nature of this ox, that kofar payment might break you financially, but it's simply not good enough atonement if you kill another person. It's fine if you were negligent with your property. No, it's not fine, but I mean, it's fine that one doesn't get the death penalty for that. But it's certainly not good enough from an atonement process. And I think who answered that was Arthur. I mean, Arthur chapped it. Like, not that you guys didn't, but it was just so amazing to see a light go on from confusion to absolute clarity. Seriously, mate, that was just just appreciated. And when each of you guys comes up with, I never give you guys like false praise, and that's how you know when I'm impressed. I'm really impressed, because I'm not there to say all the time, guys, you've done perfect, you've done good. But honestly, when Kevin comes up with a chidush, or Arthur or Gavin, believe me, because it's just I get a hell of a kick when the lights go on.
So it was
Even
delightful, Damon.
And Damon, it's so rare. It's so rare. That's why.
No, it's not. In South Africa, we all get a kick out of the lights going on, but that's a different issue.
So it was, Damon, it was delightful.
Fair enough, not being welcome in America and not being welcome here. It's a problem.
Exactly. As Kevin says, it's delightful. Talking about electricity. All right, so the Gemara now considers one final Kavachome. Now, guys, you need to listen to carefully. So it's the final one. But let not the owner of an ox that injures a person be obligated to pay the 4 things other than actual damage. So we're saying, okay, this is interesting. Why? We know when a human being hits another human being, he has to pay 4 things apart from the actual damage. But why should an ox that injures a person only be obligated to pay the 4 other things apart from actual damage? It can be derived from the following kol v'chomer. If a person who is not obligated to pay kofar is obligated to pay 4 things if he injures someone, then in the case of the owner of an ox who is obligated to pay kofar, if his ox kills someone, isn't it logically compelling that he should be obligated to pay the 4 things if his ox injures someone? Why then is it generally accepted that when an animal injures a person, its owner pays only damages and not the 4 additional things? Arth, can you give me over the kol v'chomer? Kevin, can you, Gavin, or should I repeat it one more time and break it up?
Repeat and break it up. I sort of got the difference between when you're talking there between the actual an injury and a death. I got that by the ox. I'm just trying to wrap it right in my head exactly how it's broken up.
Sure. Gav, can I repeat it again? Is it okay with you?
Yeah, no, I think so. I had a bit of a slow getting. I think I know it, but I'd rather you repeat it again.
Okay.
No, I wasn't focusing there. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So firstly, I'm going to ask you guys, it's up for thing. Kev, do you know the 5 different types of payment we pay when a human being injures another human being? Do you remember?
Humiliation, income, loss of standing in the community. What else? Injury, obviously. What else? Psychological damage.
Okay, you've got the things. Let's put them in an easy category. The first one, the first one I want you guys always to remember is nezek shalem, actual damage. The reason why we use the word nezek shalem is it has to be a complete payment. When man is muad for the beginning, whether he does so when he's sleeping or awake, and therefore man is responsible for full payment damage because he's obviously much more conscious than an animal. So that's why we use the word shalem. It's complete payment. Nezek means actual. Nezek shalem is the actual damage. So if you cost a person 100 zuz, you pay the 100 zuz. That's the first port of damage. And that nezek shalem you pay, even you pay actual damage. Now, when your ox hits another ox, there's an issue. When your ox hits another ox, there's a keren tam and an actual keren muat. There are, I think the major opinion is that when your ox hits another human being, you pay nezek shalom, actual damage. There's no discount for keren tam. We'll learn it more specifically when we learn about keren. But as far as I remember, when an ox hits a person, it's full payment.
Okay.
Keren tam is only when your property hits another ox or another property. Does that make sense?
That's automatic. So that's automatic.
The nezek shalom is automatic.
No, I'm talking about when an ox hits an ox, there's a time thing, and then when an ox hits a man, you said it was something different?
Yes. Yes. So
like,
in other words, the nezek shalom, the full payment,
yeah,
there are contrary opinions, but if your ox hits another ox, you've got keren tam and keren muat.
Okay.
There is a major opinions that says when your ox hits another human being, it's full payment damage, nezek shalom.
Okay, so there's no half payment in that stuff.
No, we're going to hit
always
the
more.
It's as far as I know, when it hits another person, touching it, it's always muad. There's always another opinion, but there's always muad. So, Kev, you look like you nodding off a little bit. Are you okay?
Which makes sense, Dan. Actually, Dan, it actually makes sense because obviously human life is more valuable than another ox.
Did you say, hey, Damon? You say keren tam. Keren tam is half damages regardless. There's no discussion.
No. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the concept of a half payment and full payment generally relates to an animal injuring an animal. When an animal injures a human being, as far as I know, we might find exceptions. It's nezek shalom. It's full payment.
It's always full payment.
Yeah. We'll go through the chapter. So nezek shalom, you pay if your property damages another human being. You pay for the actual damage. When a human being hits another human being, you know better. So when that's the case, you've got 4 additional payments. And the reason why we're not going to put it down to physical and psychological and recovery or whatever is that I want us to keep it relatively clear, if possible. So what are the 4 other damages, guys? Do you remember? You can all take a stab at this.
So humiliation is guaranteed. That's one.
Yeah, but that in the order. You must try and get it in the order.
Okay, so the order, the first is what's it called? Exact. Is to fix the damage.
Correct. Nezek shalom is the first one. That's correct.
Nezek shalom is the first one. The other 2, the last one is humility. The second one and third one, those are 2. Guys, anybody know it?
All right, so let's just go through the first one is actual.
I'll wait again. I apologize.
Second one is sar, it's pain. That's pain. The third one is what you call shevet, recuperation medical expenses. And then you've got convalescing, you've got the medical expenses, and you've got the humiliation aspect. The humiliation aspect is not always there. Okay.
There's lots of income in that. Sorry, just which category?
Okay, so that's a very good question. The loss of income, you've got 2 different types of loss of income. Nezek shalom is the actual damage accounts for loss of income. It's different to convalescing, which is shevet. So loss of income has to do with what you were worth and the employment market in your previous skill set compared to what you're worth now. That's an actual damage it's worked out. Okay, Rabbi Cohen said it's attached to that. Then you've got tsar, pain. You've got shevet, recuperation. And the recuperation is your medical expenses and the recovery and the loss of income for the recovery period. And you've got the humiliation aspect. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And that first nezek payment, is that just that's a once-off payment, just based on the situation at that point in time?
Actually,
become a monthly thing.
Actually, I don't know how it works yet. We're going to go through it in the actual chapter. I just know that when I asked Rabbi Cohen, when you have actual damage, pain, medical costs, loss of employment, and humiliation. So the medical costs and loss of employment is different. So I said to him, does the loss of employment mean what he is no longer earning now? He said, no, it has to do with the word shevet, which is convalescing, meaning that you can't work during the period of recovery. That's the separate category compared to nezek shalom, what you were worth at a certain skill set and what you're worth now, which is put down to actual damage.
Okay.
For some reason.
Okay, so
just one second, mate, sorry. So again, you've got 5 things: actual damage, pain, medical costs, loss of employment, and humiliation. Those are the 5 things. And that's in 83b. That's in the mission of 83b. Just ask Art with pleasure.
No, I just wanted to know, I'm sorry, I'm just typing out the words so I don't forget them. Sorry, medical, okay. Okay, so nezek tam tsar, what's the word, the Hebrew for medical costs? Is there a specific word in Hebrew?
I tell you what, I'm gonna put it on the group. Don't worry.
Okay, great. Okay, fine.
English word in the group.
I've put it down.
All right, so Gav, what I'm saying is Rabbi Cohen seems to say that the actual damage is for what you were previously worth on the job market, doing your skill set and what you're worth now. But shevet, which is convalescing, is seeming to be the loss of employment, not from your skill set before, but the recovery period. Because you've got medical cost recovery and then humiliation.
All right, so let's say it takes him 6 months to recover from this injury. So for that 6 months, you'll be paid loss of income for that 6 months. Why he's convalescing? But
yes, but this is the key point. It's the loss of income of what he would earn in this current salary of being disabled.
Compared to what
No. That's actual damage. So what he would have earned before, compared to his skill set now, that goes under actual damage.
Okay, now also, just stop there for 1 second. We'll come back to the other one now. How long is that period, though? That's what I'm trying to. I
don't know what the cutoff is. We're going to hit that chapter in 83b. We're going to get there.
I mean, do they get an actuary and he comes and he works out for the next 5 years what he would have made, something like that? So.
Yeah, when we get to 83b, please God, we'll go through all of that. The only thing I can tell you now is Rabbi Cohen does discern from us the difference that the loss of what you could do to what you do now, that is paid in within regards to actual damage. You pay the actual damage you caused, plus that sort of calculation difference. But the shevet, the loss of income for recovery, is a different category where you pay pain, medical costs, and shevet. Now, comes from the word like Shabbat, meaning a sabbatical, where you're taking a break. Okay. And that's the sabbatical payment you pay from what you would earn now of your capabilities now, because we can't get the guy to double pay. He's already paid the potential of what you could have earned compared to what you do earn now because of the skill set loss. He's not paying that twice. He's paying now the convalescing period of what you could earn now until you can get a job. Okay, so it's all taken care of in different categories.
Okay, so what you're saying in Shevek, which is the one where you pay monthly, would be if I owned 100 zuz before, he's got to pay 100 zuz each month. Per month, he's pay 100 zuz the same amount until I recover.
No. Under actual damage, that's where you pay the calculation is worked out from what your potential earning as an employee in that job, not in your own business, could earn for that skill set then compared to what you're capable of doing now. That goes part of actual damage, nezek shalom. But the shevet, we think of the word Shabbat, convalescing, recovery. It's like taking a sabbatical, chill time. Is you being paid for that break of what you would earn now in the job market, because you've already paid the guy on actual damage, the potential loss.
So
You're not double paying that.
could that vary to what you actually get? I mean, let's say I was actually getting, let's say, 200 zuz a month, right? That was my job, and this happened. Would that actually change? Either be less, it could be less than 200 zuz if it's according to the job actual, or would it be what you're making every month?
No. Your shevet, your convalescing time, recovery time is only paid what you would earn in your new position of capability. We've already in actual damage, you paid a compensation for your loss of skill set.
Okay, can you explain to me about I don't understand your phrasing in your capability. Are you saying now if I lost the
if the guy was an actuary, and we thumped him in the head, and now he can only watch cabbage patches because he can't think past two thoughts.
Yeah.
He's now not capable of earning the same thing. Okay. So now you don't pay him as an actuary in his own firm because you'd be broke. You would say, what is that skill set being employed? They use the term slave market, but we mean basically in today's terms of being employed. What were you employed as an actuary compared to what you paid now? A calculation is made.
So you're probably not less. Is that what it's saying that you actually got?
No. I'm saying there's a difference between what one earns in their own business compared to what one earns as an employee in that skill set. What I'm saying is you paid for that loss. If you made the guy brain damaged or you broke his hand where he can't be a surgeon anymore and now he's going to have to do something else, that's paid under actual damage. Nezek Shalom. That's that category. Then you pay pain. There's an amount calculated for how much pain he's going through. Then there's medical expenses. And then there's shevet, which is like, think of Shabbat, a sabbatical to recover. That period, that money that you pay him is just the recovery period of the financial loss in his new position. You've already paid him compensation in the actual for rendering him an idiot. And now, does that make sense?
Yeah, guys? I got it.
Humiliation doesn't occur if you beat somebody up in the back alley and no one knows about it. It's if you beat him up in front of other people, or you obviously sexually abuse somebody and there's humiliation. It's different if a woman consents because you've affected her, what she's worth, because she's no longer as marriageable, but she consented because she didn't want to be smacked around. So she doesn't get the humiliation aspect. Okay. Anyway.
Just send them to South Africa. There's plenty of people who won't object.
Absolutely. So, all right. So let's get back to what the actual Bava Kamma is. The owner of an ox should also pay those four things apart from the actual damage. Why? Because if your ox kills somebody, you have to pay the kofar. But a human that kills somebody doesn't have to pay the kofar. So if a human being that kills a person doesn't pay the kofar, but if he injures a person, has to pay the four other things apart from actual damage, let the owner of an ox, where the ox kills somebody, pay those four other things, because it's even worse, because if his ox kills someone, the owner of the ox has to pay kofar, whereas an individual doesn't. So why isn't he paying the five things in total? Does that make sense? That's what they're proposing. In other words, the owner of the ox at the moment after doesn't pay more than actual damage if his ox kills a person. He pays nezek shalom, full damages, but he doesn't have to pay more than the actual damage if his ox kills somebody. The Gemara is suggesting a Bava Kamma, maybe the owner of the ox should pay four other things if his ox kills somebody apart from actual damage, because the owner of an ox has to pay kofar if his ox kills somebody, and if somebody kills somebody else, they don't have to pay kofar. So if somebody injures somebody else, they have to pay the five things. Why doesn't the owner of the ox that injures a human being have to pay the five other things as well, based on that logic?
For injury and for death.
No, give me over the Bava Kamma.
I'll give you over the Bava Kamma, but I'm just slightly confused. But just on one thing you said. So the Bava Kamma, from what I can see, is as follows: that the question is, the question mark is really what happens to when an ox. So when an ox kills, when an ox damages a person, attacks a person and damages them, then you pay for damages, right? If the ox kills a person, then you pay kofir payment as well.
Yes.
All right. So now, what they want to try to do, the extrapolation now, what they're trying to do to get the Bava Kamma is to say, shouldn't there be kofir payment for the ox when it damages somebody? Well, or the four things as well, and kofir payment, I think.
I don't understand. Make it a little clearer.
But there's four things that are applicable. The humility, I'm going to do them backwards, I can't remember. Humility, pain,
So those five things.
So those five things, they want to make it applicable to, why should it only be applicable to when a human being injures a person? Why can it not be, it should be applicable if an animal does the same thing? What's the difference?
On what basis? You've got to give me the logic though. I understand you understand what they're trying to propose, but on what basis?
So, well, they're saying even more so, because what happens is with a human being, when he gets the death penalty, that supersedes any what's it called, kofir payment. He doesn't need to make the kofir payment. So what you're saying now is, because he doesn't, even more so, if he doesn't have, see, this is where the part where I get a bit confused as well. Sorry, I'm gonna have to ask you to repeat that again.
Okay, that's fine.
I've got a slight problem understanding how. I've got a slight problem understanding how we can go from a killing to a killing. So a killing of a human being to the killing of another human. The one's a killing of a human being against a human being. No, an ox killing a human being. That human being that kills a human being gets off scot-free. He doesn't, he dies. But he doesn't have to pay any payment. So I don't know how you can use that as a Bava Kamma, because you're using it not to where the animal kills, you're trying to apply it to where the animal injures.
All right. Listen,
I said a lot there, sorry.
All right, but I'm trying to answer you.
No, I'm giving you a chance. I'm just saying I just said a lot.
Okay. So listen, Gavin understands the proposal. He understands the proposal, but let's give the logic of the proposal. So Gavin said it perfectly, the proposal. The proposal is the owner of an ox that injures a person should be obligated to pay the four things other than the actual damage. That's what the proposal is. All right, the Gemara answers, the verse states concerning the injury sustained by a person at the hands of another, and if a man inflicts a blemish on his fellow, which implies, but not if an ox inflicts a blemish on the owner's fellow. So all I can tell you is that obviously there's a greater responsibility if a person, there's no excuse, if a person injures his fellow. That's the only thing I can say to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, getting it.
Is that there is a responsibility of actual damage. If your ox damages another person and it's muad, and actual damage, if Rabbi Cohen says that it also includes what a person was worth on the job market to what they're worth now, as well as the actual damage in 83b, we're going to see that he pays pretty heavily. But still, it's not as hectic as the injuries if man is cognizant and injures his fellow. Why? Because kofir is not as hectic as the death penalty if you kill someone. So it is consistent. There is a source of consistent.
So it's similar to the time that Danny broke glasses on somebody and I had to go pay for him. It wasn't me directly, but if my kid broke it, but because I'm responsible for my kid or my ox or whatever it is, it falls on me.
Yeah, 100%.
So what's the bottom line? If an ox injures a person, is it kofir or kofir plus the four?
No. Listen, kofir. No. If an ox injures somebody, there's no kofir. Kofir is only.
Sorry. No, that's for death. Sorry. But then it's shalem. What's it called?
It's actual damage only. If your ox injures somebody, it's actual damage. But we don't know what that's calculated at. But it could be the equivalent of a house. We don't know. because you're also paying for loss of income worth. It's not convalescing. It's not recuperation. It's loss of potential earnings.
So are we
That's
not going to accept the Bava Kamma then? Are we throwing it out?
We're throwing it out because biblically it says you're only responsible to pay those other things if a person hurts another person, not if a person's property hurts another person.
All right, so that's what you were
That's
supposed
the
to.
bottom line. We're throwing
That's
it
what
out.
you read out to us, sort of. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I've got it now.
All right, guys, have a good day. Thank you so much.